The views, ideas, and content of WellSeekers and their guests are their own opinions, and you should always seek additional professional help around any of the issues discussed here on WellSeekers.
Hello, welcome to WellSeekers. I'm Lucia, and we are so excited to be back for our final series in 2021. And this is actually going to take us into 2022 since the topic is so important, especially as we round out the year and then head into the new year. For those of you who are new to the show, welcome. A little bit about the show. WellSeekers is all about giving you the keys to rise, to come back, and to thrive in today's complicated world. We all know that there is so much information out there about holistic health, mental health, emotional health. And I like to say WellSeekers is cutting edge. We talk a lot about research and new tools and techniques, but we also have sage advice, wisdom. We talk a lot about personal stories, not only of our guests, but personal stories about myself and things that I relate to, and personal stories from you, the listeners or the watchers, if you're watching this on video. We're really all things personal growth, self-love, other love, relationships, family, fill in the blank, and of course, holistic health. So we use the word keys. I also like to say this is a show for people who maybe lost their keys or never got the keys. Maybe your parents forgot to give you your keys to life, or you misplaced your keys, or you just need to find a new pair. I'm really excited about this series on mindfulness because during this time of year, especially as we head into the holidays, mindfulness is such an important topic to remember. Mindfulness is something that's personally changed my life, and it's something that I encourage people that I work with to do on a daily basis as well. Today we have an amazing show, and the whole series that we have planned is, I'm personally blown away by the guests that we are going to have on for the next 7 weeks. I think you're going to be blown away by the people coming on, sharing their expertise and their wisdom and their personal stories. So we'll get into who's going to be here. Today, we are going to have somebody that I've been a fan of for a long time. If you're on Instagram and you're into mindfulness and meditation, you may know this gentleman. His name is Chris Tolson. Chris is the founder of Meditation and Mindfulness. It's a business that provides meditation and mindfulness-based services truly around the world. But it also is an Instagram account, and we'll put all the links below, that is just phenomenal to help get you in the meditation mindfulness space if you're looking for a little bit extra encouragement there. I feel like it's important to talk about what the difference is between mindfulness and meditation. I know for myself, when I was going through my own personal journey with holistic health, with chronic health issues, with overcoming some challenges from my past, from childhood, from young adulthood, when I worked with a coach, a therapist, I think people know I went to an eating disorder rehab. When I was in those situations, there was a lot of conversation about mindfulness. For some reason, whether it was taught at the time or my mind picked it up as such, I always thought that mindfulness was meditation. As my journey in the world of holistic health continued, I now know that is absolutely not true, right? Meditation is a form of mindfulness. And there's other things like mindfulness meditation specifically, to name it. I think it's really important for those that are just starting out their journey with mindfulness, and even for people that are more advanced, we're gonna talk to you in each episode too, to define what mindfulness is, right? So if you're watching on video, you'll see that sometimes I look down at my screen because I want to make sure I get this right. I'm going to literally read the definition of mindfulness. So mindfulness is the basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where you are and what you're doing, and not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around you, right? So think about that. If we break that down, to be fully present where you are. Who is fully present, right? Where they are, especially in 2021 as we head into 2022. We're all pulled in a million directions, which is one of the points of WellSeekers, is to help give this information in a time slot where you can use this information. That's why our shows are shorter, because we know and are aware that you're pulled in a lot of directions. So mindfulness is the ability, though, to be fully present in the direction you're pointing in right now. Meditation is exploring, not erasing the present moment as it is, right? And meditation is done in a lot of different ways, which we're going to talk about in this series as well. When we meditate, we venture into the workings of our minds, our sensations, right? Like this talks about the air moving in and out of our bodies, right? Or maybe smelling something in the room, or your emotions, right? Your thoughts. Did you remember to pick up something at the grocery store, right? So meditation is exploring the present moment. Mindfulness is the ability to be present and aware of where you are. That's it. Mindfulness meditation, when you combine those two, asks you to suspend the judgment of the workings of your mind and unleash your natural curiosity about what is happening in the moment, right? So allowing yourself to be in each moment with warmth, with kindness to yourself and with others. This is such a big differentiator to talk about the difference between mindfulness and meditation, because a lot of people do not like meditation. I was one of those people. So when I was told over the years, you should meditate, that would really help calm your mind, ease anxiety, right? Fill in the blank. I was like, no, but tell me how to fix my anxiety, right? Like, tell me what I actually should be doing to get better, because I didn't want to meditate, right? Nobody told me along the way, or again, I may not have asked. What I know now, that there's lots of different ways to get into mindfulness, right? To be mindful, to become more mindful. There's actually also a lot of different ways to meditate. So I think it's important that we also talk about why mindfulness, right? Why mindfulness? Why should we focus on it? Mindfulness truly can help you increase your ability, right? If mindfulness means being aware and present, fully present in the moment, whatever that moment is, it's going to help increase your ability, our collective ability, to regulate emotions, decrease stress, help with anxiety, help with depression. We've talked about it on the show since COVID. The last time we checked statistics, there was a 400% increase in anxiety. Suicides have increased, right? Mental health is off the charts. If you've been looking for a therapist, you know that there's waiting lists and it's impossible to find one, right? Although I should give you some tips and tricks on how to sneak in sometimes. But the benefits of mindfulness is really truly improving your overall health as well. So reducing the rumination, reducing anxiety, reducing emotional reactivity. So being able to be more present and in control of your emotions, stress reduction. And people that have done mindfulness on a daily basis, they report greater satisfaction in all areas of their health and their life, relationships, family, physical health, right? All of that is a benefit of doing mindfulness. So these are the reasons in 2021, moving into 2022, this is so important and so key, because now more than ever, we need to have this conversation. So before we go, I do want to say, I think it's important to acknowledge that there are other ways to be mindful other than meditate. So at the end of the show, we're going to talk about ways to work on your mindfulness that don't include meditation. So make sure you stick around for that. But before that, we are going to have our guest. Well, maybe we'll call him a guest. I think he'd rather be called a guest. We're going to have our guest, Chris Tolson. Chris is the founder of Meditation and Mindfulness, and hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly. We'll ask him before we get started. Meditation and Mindfulness is a business that provides meditation and mindfulness-based services around the world, and he also has an absolutely phenomenal Instagram account. So we will be right back with Chris in just a moment here on WellSeekers.
You're listening to WellSeekers, a show where the journey is just as important as the destination.
Welcome back to WellSeekers. I am so excited to have our very first guest of this season, Chris Tolson. Chris is a meditation specialist and founder of the business and one of my favorite Instagram accounts, Meditation and Mindfulness. Chris, thanks so much for joining us today on WellSeekers.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to speaking with you about all things meditation and mindfulness.
Chris, one thing I know for myself personally and professionally, and everyone that I've talked to through the years about meditation on the show, is that usually there's a personal story. There's a reason that people have found meditation and mindfulness. Do you mind just sharing a little bit about your journey of what got you into the work you do today?
Sure. I mean, firstly, I've kind of always been into the mind. Psychology was always one thing that I wanted to do when I grew up. My career never really panned out that way, unfortunately. But it was around 15 years ago now. I was away with a group of friends, and then we was all sitting around by a swimming pool, and out of nowhere, I just felt a really sharp pain in my back. And at that time, it just felt like a cloud had come over me. It's very hard to explain. So I took myself off to my room, and then I just started like visibly shaking. And at that time, you think, wow, what's going on here? Like you're fearing, are you about to die? Thankfully, I kind of calmed myself down. But from that point onwards, for probably the next 2 years, my life was kind of just walking around with a cloud of like feeling a bit disassociated from the world, because at that time, mental health wasn't really at the forefront of people's minds for people to be able to self-diagnose. So yes, for the next 2 years, I was starting to get better gradually by doing things such as cutting out caffeine, exercising more, but it still wasn't really getting anywhere. And then I was introduced to a book from my father. I can't remember the name of it now, but it was about how that you're not your thoughts. And from there, it kind of really resonated with me about how much we are just completely at the mercy of our own thoughts, and we tend to focus on the negative. We may have a lot of positive thoughts throughout the day, but when we get hooked on that one negative thing, and then that just constantly feeds and goes round and round. And then I decided to seek along some counselling for 6 weeks, just offered by a local doctor's surgery. That helped a lot. But then the big thing came when I was just browsing the internet, and I saw meditation had come up. I saw all the benefits and things associated with it. And at that point, I thought, why not try it? Because I wouldn't say I was depressed or anything like that, but it had a grip on my life to the fact that every day was just, it was kind of, I couldn't escape it. And so I started meditating, and then came the book that really changed everything for me. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now.
Of course. Yeah.
It just changed my whole perception on life. And then reading that book along with meditating, and soon I would never say I've really fully got rid of anxiety, because you've always got those thought patterns in your mind, which you can't, obviously everyone knows you can't control your thoughts in terms of what pops into your head, but very rarely that happens now. And now I'm probably in a position to have the happiest and calmest I've ever been. I've meditated for maybe 13 years now. Try and do it every day. Obviously it's not possible to do it every day sometimes, but yeah, it's best. I always tell my friends and family it's the best habit I've ever taken up.
So when you started meditating, because I have so many people where I'll suggest meditation, right? Because meditation is proven to play on those same pathways, right? The neural pathways to help reduce anxiety, right? So when you started meditating, Chris, what were some of the first things that you noticed benefit-wise happening in your own mind?
It's a strange thing when you're meditating and the benefits at the start, because obviously meditation is teaching you not to be too judgmental with your own thoughts. Mm-hmm. So if you're sitting there kind of worrying about or thinking about am I seeing a benefit? Am I seeing a benefit? Every day it kind of becomes counterproductive.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one barrier we have to do with our clients, is overcome that. But I could sense when I tried to stop thinking about that, I could sense I was just generally happier. I had like a more of a spark, because during the period of my anxiety, I literally just didn't look forward to anything. Maybe I did have a slight bit of depression at the time, but I was never so depressed that I couldn't get out of bed or anything like that. I still lived a life as I was doing previously. But yeah, I just noticed I was really starting to look forward to things more. I was much more calmer. Everything just seemed to be, I'd noticed little things, and then maybe at the time I didn't really notice them, but then when I look back at them, just more clarity in my head, the way I was making better decisions. There's just so many things. And obviously the main thing was that the anxiety was just dissipating as time went on, and I could see in myself. And don't get me wrong, there was other healthy habits along with that, but I had already kind of started those habits before meditating. So I attribute most of it towards meditation. But yeah, I think generally mental health and physical health are all kind of come together through various things that you do, not just one particular thing, but meditation is, as I say, one of the best things you can do for your mental health.
Completely agree with that. I say that all the time in my professional work, that the link is undeniable, right? There's so much evidence, and it's not mind body. I've said this on the show over and over again. Your mind is part of your body. It's our body. And your brain.
Exactly.
Your brain is just one of those organs in your body that feeds into the rest of your body, right? But we've separated it somehow.
Exactly. And the thing is as well, there's a big thing made of like physical health and exercise to benefit your body. Fantastic. But nothing until recently was ever really made of, you've got to keep your mind fit as well. Because if you, as you say, they can't really function with one without the other, to some respects anyway, but to be fully healthy. But yeah, meditation is kind of like an exercise for your brain, which is one thing we have to also describe to people, but maybe we'll get back into that later as we talk more about our business.
Yeah. And one of the things I wanted to help people separate too is, before you came on, when we were doing our first part of the show, talking about meditation and mindfulness, how do you separate the two?
Oof. I mean, I would always say meditation is kind of part of mindfulness, because mindfulness is paying attention to the present moment, whatever you're doing, whether that's drinking, eating, walking, basically any part of your daily activity. Whereas meditation, you're taking yourself as part of a mindful activity to either focus solely on your breath, which is one of the most common meditation methods, whether that be a body scan, or even a form of meditation people don't really feel like is this thing, like some people love jigsaw puzzles. If you can really get into that jigsaw puzzle and kind of nothing else matters, you're just kind of like in your own little bubble, that's kind of a form of meditation as well, because you're just so focused on it that that's what you kind of really would like to achieve to be like in every part of your life. I know it's very, very difficult for that to happen, but that's how we see it. Meditation is more part of mindfulness, but I think meditation is just more popular because it sounds easier to do for people.
Yeah, I have to make that distinction all the time, right? That meditation is a form of mindfulness, but there's so many other forms of mindfulness that don't necessarily gravitate towards meditation, can also participate in.
Exactly. I mean, like that's a form of mindfulness and kind of meditation at the same time. So, I mean, they're very, very, very closely linked, and it is easy to see why people can get mixed up between the two, but there is a difference. But they're both great for everyone. So, yeah.
Yeah. So when we look at meditation and mindfulness, your business, I want to talk about your business, and I also want to talk about your social media, because I think they both have different places. Tell us more about what you do in your business, in your day-to-day work with meditation and mindfulness, your company.
As you may have seen from our website, that we offer all kinds of services, because meditation can really extend to anything. It's obviously been popularized by apps over previous years, so we can do the kind of voiceovers for various apps. You could do recorded talks because not everybody can attend a live session, but a bulk of our work is either one-on-one guidance. We have a virtual studio as well where we run daily classes to, we try to target every single time zone in the world. We're getting there. But because of our large following on the internet, we want to help as many people as we can. And then there's also the corporate things where we've had worked with large companies such as TikTok. We've helped with their employees. We've just recently, since I spoke with you the first time, been approached by Samsung to help their employees and to do launches and things like that. So yes, I'd say a bulk of the work is live things with people, businesses, and on one-on-one guidances. We have teachers all over the world, from North America to Australia, obviously here in Europe as well. It's a really powerful thing to be able to touch so many people in so many different places. And I've also got to thank all my teachers for helping us to achieve that as well, because without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. We've all helped each other get along to a certain path.
So beautiful, Chris. And it feels like there are so many different layers to this, right? And that's what I so appreciate about your specific model, is that we talk about on WellSeekers, finding and feeling better and how that's an individual journey and meeting people where they are, right? So some people may do better on a one-on-one. Some people may do better within live online classes, right? Some people may do better joining and following your Instagram and then trying to apply those methods to their life because it's so rich with information. We're going to have all of Chris's links so you can follow. To someone who's listening and saying, because I get this all the time, meditation just doesn't work for me. What would you say to them? Or I can't sit still for meditation is another thing I hear all the time.
Yeah, I completely understand that. We see a lot of that as well. I mean, I think people have kind of been obviously over the pandemic and things, the popularity of meditation has absolutely gone through the roof in terms of people understanding what they need in their life. But unfortunately, on the flip side of that, people think that it's an instant cure, some kind of magical healing thing, but it's not. Unfortunately, you have to work at it. And I completely appreciate people not being able to sit still. We're so conditioned in this day and age to whether our minds probably never really settle that much because we're either flicking through social media and then we're jumping to a news website, or then we're watching something like Netflix, and then while we're watching Netflix, our heads jumping to doing something else. So we're not even fully engaged in the program we're watching. So I completely understand why people can't sit still, but by nature, we should be still, because way before we had all this modern day technology, which is fantastic, by the way, if it's utilized right, we were able to sit still. We were able to deal with being bored. I find a lot of people don't know how to deal with being bored these days because there's just so much that they can possibly do to cure their mind of boredom. We've all been in doctor surgeries or waiting for some kind of public transport. People just don't stand there. They're always looking at something. They're not taking in the world around them. But to kind of answer the question, to people who think they can't sit still, it's like saying you can't walk a certain distance without getting out of breath. You have to take things slowly. Each individual is different. Their attention span is different. You have to take things slowly. Maybe start with 5 minutes, then build up next week 10 minutes. And then, even 10 minutes a day eventually is much better than 0 minutes. And even 1 minute is better than 0 minutes. And if that still doesn't work for them, then they can have guided meditations if they're not comfortable doing it by themselves. They can try walking meditation, even just any kind of activity that they're fully engrossed in that they may not think is a meditation. If their passion, as I mentioned earlier, like a jigsaw or anything like that, maybe it be mindful coloring, something that really engages them in the moment and brings their pure, full 100% focus to that activity, is a form of meditation. So it's also about making sure that people are aware that it isn't all about sitting there in the stereotypical lotus pose and breathing, because although that is my personal favorite activity, and I know it is for a lot of people, that isn't the only method that is available.
Absolutely. So what I hear in that, Chris, is keep trying. Find the thing that resonates with you, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's a class, whether it's drawing, walking, but it's an important and vital component, I feel like, in holistic health, quieting the mind. And there's lots of ways to get there, regardless of where you are in your journey. Does that feel fair to say?
Yeah, I'd agree with that 100%. Yeah, I probably couldn't have put it better myself. It's about finding what works for you, and that goes for really anything in life, I suppose. Not everything works for one person. If it did, then we'd all be the happiest people and there'd be no problems in the world. But it doesn't quite work like that, does it, unfortunately?
No, it doesn't work like that. But I think the important part is to keep trying to find the thing that works for you. Because as you said, right, it may not be lotus pose. Personally, I'm the same way. I love sitting still and quiet on my meditation pillow, right? But that took years to get there for me. And it took walking meditations and different forms of meditation before I actually wanted to sit still. So it feels like keep going.
Yeah, and also people need to realize as well that they can bring other things to help calm them down, to allow them to meditate, whether that be some kind of aromatherapy around them, some kind of green tea just before to calm them down so that mind is normally calm. I mean, we all go through periods in the day where our mind does rush generally more. So it's all for finding out when is best for you during the day. It can be a lot of trial and error. But as you say, you've got to keep trying and find what does work for you, because I know a lot of people may think and get frustrated and say, oh, this isn't working. But for 99% of the population, it would work. You would find something that will work for you. Obviously, we can't say if something would work for everyone, but yeah, there's always something out there for most people that will help them in some way.
Chris, just a few more questions for you. You mentioned briefly before, but one thing I was curious about is if someone does have trouble sort of setting that stage. You mentioned aromatherapy. I love candles. I have a dedicated cushion that I'm excited to get to because it's so comfortable. What are some of the things that you would suggest if someone was trying to set a space for meditation, whether it was sitting there or coloring, that you have found useful for your clients?
Do you mean in terms of setting them into a meditation space?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. I mean, first things first, you need kind of space around you. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it in a big room, but like we've all heard the expression tidy. I can't remember, it's, tidy area, tidy mind, that kind of expression. So you need to make sure that everything is just kind of nice and neat around you and you don't feel the presence of lots of clutter. And then once you've got that, you can get yourself a nice soft cushion or meditation pillow. They're quite popular. There's a vast array of aromatherapies in, like you say for yourself, candles. And you can put some calming music on. So yes, there's a lot of things people can do. It's basically finding what your calm space would ideally be like. And it doesn't have to be a big room by itself. It can just be a little corner of a room, a nice plant or something that when you get to that space, this is my space to feel calm in. So your brain can automatically associate that with. That's why sometimes the association of the brain is a big, powerful thing as well. I know a lot of people sometimes like to lay down in bed and meditate, but your brain automatically associates laying down in bed with going to sleep.
Absolutely.
So yes, it's all about finding what people like, is kind of alluding to what we previously spoke about just before. You've got to find what you really like. Some people like some smells, some wouldn't. And actually another thing that we've noticed quite popular is CBD. I personally not a great lover of it, but it's each to their own. If some people find that calms them down, gets them into a space, then yeah, go for that as well.
One final question for you. If someone's listening right now who's heard the word meditation, who's heard the word mindfulness, I think in the wellness word, they've become kind of buzzwords, and they've lost a little bit of their impact because they are so impactful, right? Mindfulness and meditation being a form of mindfulness. They truly can change our brains and help heal trauma, right? There's so many benefits to mindfulness and meditation. If someone is listening and they're a little skeptical, like, oh, this is just that buzzword of meditation and mindfulness again, why should they be paying attention? Why is mindfulness and meditation so critical, especially right now?
Well, firstly, I think I'd just like to say I agree with what you're saying about it becoming a buzzword. Unfortunately, with the rise in popularity of meditation and mindfulness, has become a kind of over-commercialization about with it as well, in terms of people are kind of trying to make it a marketing tool, promising people things that may not happen, which I can understand why people then may get turned away from it. But as to why we need it, I mean, we've been through a lot in the last couple of years with the pandemic, and we've all been taught how to look after ourselves physically, but not really ever taught about how to look after ourselves mentally. And the way I like to put it as well is we spend a lot of our time walking around in like a constant daze. We're just like walking around, you're not really aware of what's going on, not aware of our own feelings, our emotions, not too sure about ourselves and what's going on in our bodies. And then when we can become more in tune with our bodies and importantly our minds as well, we can then really start to see things with more clarity. And then once clarity we reach the stage of clarity, then we can really focus on ourselves, find why we feel the way we feel. And from there on, then we can eliminate things from our lives that we feel are maybe not helping us to get to where we want to go or helping us to feel happy. Yeah, I completely see what you mean, but we all need to be working on our mental health, because our brains and bodies, they're delicate things at the end of the day. They can be robust in some ways, but they can also be delicate. And even the slightest thing can knock us out of our stride. So it's always nice to be prepared to be able to tackle those kind of things. Even if you're happy now and you're not meditating, I believe you should still meditate, because it gives you the tools and the help build some kind of resilience in case something does come along and take you out of your stride. So it's not all about just doing this because you're in a bad place. I mean, yes, that's more why most people do come to it, because of anxiety and depression and things like that. But it's all about building health. It's probably better to come to meditation while you're still healthy and not having such intrusive thoughts, because then if that does come, and it does come to a lot of us, that we're well prepared to tackle it and deal with it. We can never... and going back to what I said earlier, I would not want to promise people that it's a cure for all, because it's not a cure. It's something you have to work on, like in anything in life. But once you do work on it, you'll see a hell of a lot of a change in your life, your mindset. And once that becomes, then everything in your life becomes more positive too.
Such a great way to end it, Chris. What I heard in there was equanimity, right? That mental calmness, especially in difficult situations. That's what I think mindfulness meditation can do. And I love how you pointed out as well that so often we sort of focus on, if you're in a rough spot, try meditation, right? But if you want to build that equanimity, then you can do that when you're in a great spot with mindfulness and meditation.
I mean, there's I can't remember who the quote is by now, but it's your calm mind is your ultimate weapon against your challenges, or something along those lines. And this couldn't be more true. It's hard to tackle problems when your head is all over the place, but when you've got a clear mind, you can deal with so many things.
So true. Chris Tolson, he is the founder of Meditation and Mindfulness. We will put all of his links below. You can also find him on Instagram and his company, meditation_and_mindfulness. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us here on WellSeekers.
Thank you. It's been great.
And we'll be right back on WellSeekers.
Today's lifestyle demands the best in wireless, and with Pulse Cellular, you have the best options available. Switch to Pulse Cellular for unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data, coast to coast with no contracts, no credit checks, and no overage fees. One line for $65 or 4 lines for just $45 each, including hotspot, Wi-Fi calling, and 50 gigs per line. And for all you travelers, we got you covered in Canada and Mexico. Plus, text and data in over 210 countries worldwide, all with the best phones or bring your own. That's pretty awesome. Get the best user experience on mobile at pulsecellular.com.
Thanks for being part of the Seekerhood. We couldn't do this without you. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to WellSeekers. Thanks so much again to our guest. So much incredible information that always happens here each week at WellSeekers. So thank you for everyone who takes the time to put this production together, to help research guests. Shout out to Sarah, to Christina, to Swami, to Kwok, to everyone that is a part of this show at WellSeekers. I feel like they deserve a little shout out in this episode. So before we let you go, I want to talk about today's Lucia's List. As you know, if you listen to the show, Lucia's List is about some of my top items, whether it's techniques or tools or resources based upon the episode and what we're talking about. So for today's episode on mindfulness, if we go back to the beginning of this conversation, we talked about how meditation is something that not everybody loves. Right? So if you don't like meditating, what are 5 ways you can get to explore mindfulness? All right, so here's my top 5 non-meditation mindfulness tricks. The first one is something called a body scan. So body scan meditation, super simple. You may have heard of it before. I know it has the word meditation in it, but it's not your classic meditation, right? It's just a way to relax your mind, relax your body. And it involves using awareness, there's the mindfulness piece, to scan your body for sensations, right? So there's lots of different ways that you can do it. You can do a guided, you can Google, we'll put a link below, guided body scan, and someone can walk you through, or you can simply lie down, relax your body, and tune into what you're feeling, right? For full instructions, we'll link to, there's a great article. I'll put a link so that you can find a more helpful body scan if you don't want to just lie down and try to tune into your body. The second non-meditation mindfulness activity I want to talk about is breathing. Now you're going to find so many different breathing activities. One that I love is the 4-7-8 breathing meditation. We've talked about it here on the show. It works phenomenally for anxiety, but also for mindfulness. You just breathe in 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You hold for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you breathe out for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or do you feel calmer? Hopefully everyone else is calmer too, right? So that just helps calm your breath, calm the nervous system, and helps bring you into awareness and the moment. My number 3, and actually 3, 4, and 5, they're all ones that you can do alone or with people. Super quick, super simple, and not ones that I think people traditionally think of when they think of mindfulness. The first one, probably so, because it's gotten really big over the last few years, which is coloring. So coloring brings you into awareness, brings you into the moment, right? That is a mindfulness activity, mindfulness-based activity. Number 4 on my list is kind of like coloring in some way. It's a game. Believe it or not, playing video games is a form of mindfulness. I read a phenomenal research article on how gaming actually is a form of mindfulness. So if you don't like meditation, turning on a game you like, playing it. Now, gaming for 8 hours, we can probably have a conversation that maybe that's not the best holistic health strategy, but gaming for 30 minutes to become more fully in the moment, to become aware of the moment, absolutely a mindfulness technique. And my last one is my new favorite, so I saved it for last, puzzles. I became a puzzle geek recently. I like it because you can do it alone and it just brings you into the moment, calms down my nervous system, will hopefully calm down yours, makes you aware, you're in the present moment, you're trying to find these pieces, but you can also invite people into the puzzle, which I love as well. So they just have to be as psyched about puzzles as you are, which that may be the rare find. But reach out to me if you are as excited about puzzles as I am. So that is this week's Lucia's list on your top ways to connect to mindfulness without meditation. Thank you so much again to our guest today, and thank you especially to you, those who are listening, those who are watching. Thanks for taking the time. We know that you have so many places that you can spend your time and your energy and your resources, and truly we are honored and we are grateful that you choose to be a part of the WellSeekers family and you choose to spend it with us. So from all of us here at WellSeekers, we'll see you real soon. Thanks for being a part of our family.
How would you like to join the conversation? Email us anytime at hello@wellseekers.com.